It was a Thursday. A weirdly warm one for late October. I remember because I had just picked up my wedding invitations from the printer. Smooth ivory cardstock with gold trim, simple and elegant, just like I'd wanted. I was sitting at my kitchen counter with a glass of Cabernet in one hand and a pen in the other, flipping through the guest list when I saw his name. Nathaniel James Carter. My ex-husband. I stared at it for a while. Not because I didn't expect to see it, I put his name there on purpose, but because there was something deeply satisfying, almost cinematic about the timing. You see, what made it perfect wasn't just that I was getting married again. It was when I was getting married. The same day he finalized his divorce from the girl he left me for. Now, I'm not the vengeful type. I don't believe in slashing tires or keying cars or public meltdowns. No, I'm more of a slow burn kind of woman. The type who quietly rebuilds, reinvents, and then sends a wedding invitation to her ex-husband. On the exact day his rebound marriage implodes. But to tell this story properly, we need to rewind a bit. Nathan and I met when I was 26, fresh out of grad school, still carrying around way too much student debt and a belief that love could fix everything. He was 5 years older, already established in his marketing job, confident in a way that made me feel seen, chosen, like the world had finally handed me a front-row ticket to my own fairy tale. We dated for 2 years, got married in a vineyard in Sonoma, and bought a townhouse in Portland that we filled with mid-century furniture, dog hair, and plans for the future. It wasn't a bad marriage. At least not at first. We did the things married couples are supposed to do. Lazy Sundays at the farmer's market, arguing over which Netflix show to start, experimenting with new recipes we never quite mastered. There was laughter, there was sex, there were quiet mornings where he'd kiss the back of my neck and make coffee exactly how I liked it, black with a splash of oat milk. But then, something shifted. It started subtly, like a radio slowly drifting off station. He started working later. He got jumpy when I walked into the room while he was texting. He bought new cologne and didn't want me to ride in his car after he'd been to the gym. And when I joked about it, he smiled. But the smile didn't reach his eyes. There's a kind of silence that creeps into a marriage like smoke through a crack in the window. You don't notice it until everything smells different. I asked him more than once, "Is there something going on?" He always said no. Told me I was imagining things. Too sensitive. Too insecure. Then one night, I woke up at 1:42 a.m. and realized he wasn't in bed. I found him downstairs on the couch, phone in hand, wearing the same guilty face a teenager wears when caught sneaking in past curfew. He said he couldn't sleep. But the phone screen still glowed with a text bubble that read, "Last night was amazing. I can't stop thinking about you." He didn't even try to lie. Not really. He just sighed, rubbed his temples and said, "I think I'm in love with someone else." There it was. 7 years together, undone in 7 words. Her name was Melissa. 25, bright-eyed, fresh out of undergrad, worked in his office. The kind of woman who wore high ponytails and said things like, "manifesting abundance." She made him feel young, he said. Alive. "I'm sorry," he told me. And I believe he meant it. But apologies don't soften the sound of your world collapsing. What followed was the kind of heartbreak they don't warn you about. Not the loud kind with screaming and throwing things, but the quiet devastation of making coffee for one, of erasing someone from the emergency contact list at your doctor's office, of folding the hoodie he left behind and not knowing whether to burn it or donate it. I cried in the shower so my neighbors wouldn't hear me. I took long walks at night just to feel the cold. I said, "I'm fine," so many times I almost believed it. But pain has this weird alchemy. It either destroys you or it makes you ruthless in the most beautiful way. So I rebuilt. First I cut my hair. Then I started lifting weights. Not to lose weight but to feel powerful again. I changed my therapist. Found a new job. Traveled solo to Iceland. I slept diagonally in bed. Ate chocolate for dinner. Danced alone to Fleetwood Mac. And slowly, I became someone I hadn't been in years, me. Then, 2 years after Nathan walked out, I met Eric. But that's not today's story. Today's story is about the moment I held that wedding invitation and realized I had won. Not in a petty way. Not in the way of tallying scores. But in the quiet, dignified way only women who've survived betrayal understand. So I slipped that envelope into the mail with a soft smile and the knowledge that somewhere, on the very day Nathan would sign the papers ending his second marriage, he would open a beautiful, gold-trimmed invitation. My name in cursive. The date. October 14th. The venue, the same vineyard we got married in. The note at the bottom. Reception to follow. Kindly RSVP by October 1st. I didn't know if he'd show up. I didn't care. Because the real celebration wasn't the wedding itself. It was everything that came before it. The wreckage I rose from, the heartbreak I turned into fire, the woman I became when I stopped waiting for someone else to choose me. And as I sipped my wine, watching the sun dip below the trees outside my kitchen window, I thought, revenge is overrated. But poetic timing. That's delicious. I knew the moment I saw the unfamiliar car parked just beyond the hedges at the vineyard that something was off. The morning of my wedding had been nearly perfect. Too perfect. My sister kept joking that the universe owed me one. The California sun was generous but not scorching, the florals were in place with not a petal out of line, and my makeup artist, who looked like a sleep-deprived angel, had just finished airbrushing my face to natural radiance perfection. Even my usually dramatic mother hadn't cried more than twice, which had to be some kind of family record. I should have known better. Life doesn't hand you perfection without tossing in a little chaos as seasoning. So when I looked out the bridal suite window and saw the black Audi parked half-hidden behind a row of cypress trees, engine off, windows tinted, my stomach dipped. My heart didn't panic. Not immediately. Not until I saw the figure leaning against it. The posture was unmistakable. One ankle crossed over the other, a coffee cup in one hand, the other resting loosely in his jacket pocket. Nathan. My ex-husband. My wedding. I pressed my fingertips to the glass like I could somehow erase the image with enough pressure. My breath fogged the window. My heart started a slow, familiar drumbeat in my chest. That ache. God, I hadn't felt it in over a year. And yet, here it was, back like an uninvited ghost. Amelia. My sister's voice floated in, light and chirpy. Do you want champagne now or after the vows? I didn't answer. I didn't move. All I could do was stare at the man I once vowed forever to. The same man who now stood 50 yards away from my new beginning, completely uninvited and unapologetically present. I don't know how long I stood there. Maybe minutes. Maybe only seconds. But long enough to feel my past catching up to me like a wave I hadn't braced for. Turned slowly. My dress rustled softly around my feet. Ivory silk, off-shoulder, modern, elegant. A dress chosen for a woman who had outgrown pain, who believed in fresh starts. But right now, all I felt was a pulse of something raw and jagged pressing against my ribs. He's here, I whispered. My sister looked up from her phone. Who's here? Nathan. There was a pause. Then her phone dropped to the floor with a muffled thud. Are you freaking kidding me? I shook my head. She marched to the window like a protective wolf and peeked through the curtain. Her groan was low and visceral. I'll have him escorted out. I swear to God. No, I said quietly. Not yet. Amelia, it's your wedding day. He doesn't belong here. I know. Then why aren't we calling security? I didn't answer because the truth was, I didn't know. Maybe part of me wanted to see him squirm. Maybe part of me wanted closure. Or maybe, deep down, I just wanted to see if he came to apologize. Or to ruin everything. Minutes passed. My heart steadied, my head cleared. And I did what any woman who'd been through hell and back would do. I straightened my spine, picked up my veil, and walked to the mirror. You're not going to him, are you? My sister asked. No. But if he's here to watch me get married, I want him to see me glowing. And glow I did. I walked down that aisle with every cell in my body vibrating. Not with fear. Not with regret. But with fire. Daniel stood at the altar. Eyes locked on me like I was the only woman who'd ever existed. His face, warm and open, told me everything I needed to know. He didn't care about my past. He wasn't afraid of ghosts. He was here. He chose me. And just as our hands met, just as the officiant cleared his throat and the violinist's bow touched string, I spotted movement in the crowd. Back row, far right. Nathan. He wasn't seated. He stood near a tree, just behind the last row of white chairs. He hadn't even dressed formally. Blazer. No tie. He looked thinner than I remembered. Weathered. His eyes met mine for a second. Just 1 second. Then he looked away. I turned back to Daniel and smiled. I said I do without hesitation. I kissed the man who made me believe again while the man who once broke me watched from the shadows. And I felt nothing but peace. After the ceremony, while guests drifted toward the champagne bar and the jazz trio filled the air with soft melody, I excused myself. Not to cry. Not to scream. But to finish what had been left unfinished. I found Nathan exactly where I expected. By the car, pretending to check his phone, probably debating whether to say something or just vanish. I didn't expect an RSVP, I said, approaching him. He looked up, startled. You saw me. I always see you. That was the problem. He gave a breathy chuckle. I wasn't going to come. I don't even know why I'm here. Yes, you do. He looked at me, and for the first time in years, he didn't look arrogant. He looked small. Like a man who realized he'd dropped a diamond while chasing shiny glass. She left me, he said, almost to himself. I know. She said I was still in love with someone else. Are you? He didn't answer. He didn't have to. I thought, he began, voice cracking slightly. I thought if I saw you, maybe, if I saw you happy, really happy, maybe it would hurt less. It doesn't work that way, I said. No. There was a long silence between us. The kind that holds too much weight for words to carry. I'm sorry, Amelia. For everything. He nodded. I forgave you a long time ago. But I'll never forget. He swallowed hard. He's lucky. No. I'm lucky. He looked like he wanted to say something else. But I didn't give him the chance. I walked away. Back toward my new husband, my new life. And the celebration waiting under strings of golden fairy lights. And for the first time in years I felt free. I thought he had left. After our brief conversation by his car, where Nathan quietly confessed his regrets, I truly believed he would disappear like a puff of smoke. No goodbye. No chaos. I went back to my wedding feeling light, as if that chapter had finally closed. I was wrong. My wedding reception was a dream, until it wasn't. Beneath golden string lights draped across the vineyard lawn, people laughed, danced, toasted. Daniel held my hand like he'd never let it go. He leaned in to whisper those small, ridiculous things only real lovers say. You're so beautiful it hurts. If I had to do it all over again, I'd still choose you. Promise you won't run off with the chef. I laughed like a girl in her 20s. I remember thinking, I've finally won. Until I saw Nathan. He wasn't hiding anymore. No trees. No shadows. He stood by the bar, talking to my mother. My mother. I froze, champagne glass cold in my hand. My eyes blinked like they were playing tricks on me. But no. They were really talking. My mom smiled politely. The kind of strained smile she used when dealing with people she wanted to punch but couldn't. Nathan nodded, hands in his pockets, looking like he belonged. At my wedding, Daniel appeared behind me, hand resting on my waist. You okay? I nodded, forcing a smile. I think I need the restroom. He didn't question it. But I didn't head toward the restroom. I marched straight toward my mother. Nathan saw me first. His eyes locked on me like I was the last light left in his sky. What the hell are you doing here? I asked, loud enough not to whisper, quiet enough not to shout. My mom turned, startled. Do you know him? He's Nathan, I said coolly. My ex-husband. Her face went pale. Excuse me. Nathan raised his hands, surrendering. I'm not here to make a scene. I just needed to say something. Then I'll go. You already said something, I hissed. We're done. Completely. He looked at me, steady, sorrowful. I know. But I can't leave without saying the last thing. I stepped back. Not here. Not now. Just 5 minutes. You wanted closure, didn't you? This is it. I looked around. Laughter still danced in the air. Daniel was deep in conversation. No one noticed the thundercloud forming above me. He nodded. I led Nathan into the main house, into a small private office used by vineyard staff. I shut the door behind us, sealing off the music and joy. Say it, I said coldly. He swallowed. When I got your invitation, on the same day my divorce was finalized. I thought you were mocking me. I wasn't. I know. Now I know. I folded my arms. So why are you here? To ask you for a chance. Just one. I laughed sharp hollow. You're asking me to take you back. At my wedding. He stepped forward. Amelia, I know I destroyed everything. I know I chose wrong. But standing out there, watching you in that dress, watching you smile at someone else, it felt like losing my soul. I didn't speak. He kept going. She left me because I couldn't love her the way I loved you. And when I signed those papers, I realized the one thing I ever truly wanted was already gone. Nathan, just listen. One more minute. If you say no, I'll leave and never come back. I stared at him. This man, once my entire world, now just a shadow of the life I survived. But in his eyes, there was still something. Not love. Not hope. Regret. Raw and untouched. Do you know, I began softly, how long it took me to stop waiting for your texts every night? To stop jolting awake at 2 a.m. because I thought you messaged me saying, I miss you? He shut his eyes, pained. Do you know how many nights I dreamed of wearing my wedding dress? And you not showing up? Of me standing there, waiting in the rain. My voice cracked, tears finally breaking through. Not for him but for the girl I used to be. The one who thought love meant losing yourself. I used to love you so much I forgot who I was. And now, I'm marrying someone who never asked me to forget myself to be loved. He looked like he'd been punched in the stomach. So no, Nathan. I don't need closure anymore. I got it the moment I said I do. To Daniel. I turned away. His fingers brushed my hand, then let go. Be happy, he said quietly. I didn't respond. I walked out of that room, back into the glow of the party. Back to the laughter, the champagne, and the man scanning the crowd looking for me, eyes full of quiet concern. I walked straight to Daniel and grabbed his hand. You okay? He asked. He nodded. I just closed the last door. He smiled. Good. Because we've got a whole life ahead of us. I rested my head on his shoulder, as the music swirled and lights sparkled around us, and people raised their glasses for us. Nathan. I never looked back. That story, our story, was over.